Comic books provided by Drawn to Comics, Glendale, Arizona's premier comic book emporium.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another installment of Comic Reviews. This is week 3 of DC52. A lot of books I had to go through to do this. Plus there were some books from last week that were delayed a little bit, at least for my comic shop, so I just got them. So, a lot of things to go through, so let's go through them. Batgirl, number 1. It was, I guess, a good start, but let's be honest about Batgirl number 1. Barbara Gordon can walk again, and not only can Barbara Gordon walk again, she's obviously Batgirl, and it's almost like no one's really talking about the fact. Well, let me repeat that. It is kind of a accepted thing that here she was paralyzed for about 3 years, and all of a sudden she's able to walk again. While I didn't think at first this would be something that I would call kind of an insulting sort of thing, it's an insulting sort of thing. I don't. The character I'm kind of liking, and that's kind of where I have a mixed bag with this book. The past kind of interferes with the future with the present of the book. Barbara Gordon was paralyzed. Barbara Gordon was paralyzed by the Joker. This is brought up in the book. Yet, miraculously, she can now walk again. Now, maybe there was some miracle surgery or something like that happened, but still, it gets to that realm of where we're in the unbelievable realm at this point. And with the type of character that Barbara Gordon was, and we've almost reverted her back to a teenager again. Not really, but there's these elements that you just go, I'm not digging it. To use kind of an old phrase. I'm actually putting this on I'm going to give it a little bit more time. Not a lot more time, but a little bit more time. But I have to say I'm not 100% happy with this book at the moment. Not that I don't like it, not that I don't see the potential there, but just basing it on the old stuff, I'm not liking it. If someone new's coming to the book, they might, without the baggage, they probably would like the book, and that's where my comic book historian, as opposed to comic book new person, which apparently is what DC is going for, that's where I get the schism on it. Batwing, which is essentially the Black Batman in Africa. Right now, I can't. I'm not digging the book. I'm just not. I want to, but it's just not there. There's something. It's like something derivative about it. It's like, okay, this isn't really Batman, but he's supposed to be a Batman-like character. It doesn't work. It doesn't work for me. So I'm not really happy with Batwing. Justice League International. Justice League International doesn't know whether it wants to be a funny book, whether it wants to be a serious book, whether it wants to be in the shadow of the Justice League. I have to be brutally honest with this. I think in another writer's hand, this might have been a better book, but in the hands of the writer that they're in right now, it's like it's almost there, but it's not. And kind of like unlike the Batgirl, I'm not really looking forward to the next issue. I mean, I'm sorry. I have to be honest about it. It's just not. I'm not seeing where it's going. And again, I'm not sure whether this is because I've been reading comics for a long enough time that I remember how Justice League International used to be, and compared to this isn't just there. But I'm not doing the Justice League International. Not liking it. Hawk and Dove. Pass. I'm sorry, yeah. That's my pass. No. Mack. I'm going to be honest, Mack I should have hated. I'm reading Mack and I'm going, and the first thing that hits me is that you're trying to do Jack Kirby. The art is very Kirby. And for the first couple of pages I'm going, you're trying to do Kirby. You're trying to do Kirby. I hate it because you're trying to do Kirby. You can't do Kirby. Kirby's Kirby. Then I realized I wanted Kirby. I wanted Kirby. So as I'm reading it, I'm going, you're not Kirby, but you're close. The story is kind of not really kind of a Kirby story, but it's kind of a Kirby story. What does that mean? It means I miss Jack Kirby is what it means. And that to have a book like Mack that unabashedly says, you know what, we're trying to do Jack Kirby. And they do a better than I thought job of actually trying to do Kirby. It's not perfect, but it's one of those, it's like, for what they're trying to do and what the type of feel and stuff that they're trying to do with the story, I liked it because it reminded me a lot of a Kirby story. So this is again where it's like the knowing so many years of comics, I'm going, I like it because of that. So Mack, yeah, I'll be coming back to Mack. Check Mack out. So Batman and Robin. Okay, Batman and Robin. I liked it, but it's a very reservational like. It's because I don't like Damian. I mean, that's the reason why. I kind of like Batman in the story, but it's like, think about it for a moment. Well, you're Batman, he's your son, you're going to have him go out on adventures with you. And again, we have this, with this Batman story, and it's one of the things that's like a problem with the whole 52 reboot. This is supposed to have been 5 years ago that these heroes happened, but Batman probably was a little bit longer than that. Granted. But in that time, he's gone through, according to the book, he's gone through he's gone through Dick Grayson. He's gone through at least 3 Robins. And then you're going to put your son in that also? And because of Batgirl, we got to throw in there was Batgirl also in all this? That it goes from basically 50 years, 60 years of history where he's gone through these and going like, okay, they grow old, he's alone for a bit, another one's added. It goes from that to where, okay, basically every couple of years he's switching a character, he's switching a Robin. And now he's using his son. A little rough to believe. But I liked it enough, but I did not like the Robin character. The Robin character just didn't do it for me. So that's Batwoman. Okay. Batwoman, I did not get into the whole Batwoman craze when, as far as, oh my gosh, this is a very good writing, character, blah, blah, blah. I didn't get into any of that, so I never really read the series before. I knew about the character, but didn't read the character. Reading about the character, reading this, interesting. And there's certain things that I'm going to actually get into this with another book, but the, quote, controversy or the controversial aspect of the character actually is handled very well. And as I thought it was handled very well, there was, I would say, a little bit of like cheesecakey stuff maybe in it, but kind of in the context of what was happening with the characters in the story, I don't think it just got close to pushing it without really pushing it. So that's why I said I kind of give this one, I liked it. It's sounding like I'm almost giving it like a barely pass, but I really did like the book. I liked the way the book worked out, and I do want to see it, read it later. Deathstroke. Crap. I'm sorry. Crap. Didn't like it. I thought I was going to like it. There were ways you could have gone with the story to make it work, and they missed every single turn with it. It was similar to the Green Arrow review that I did when Green Arrow came out, where you had this character and you changed him just enough to where he doesn't really fit in the situation that he's in. Plus, you have it that he's a villain, so you have to do these villain things that make sense, that don't really make sense. Here's a note to writers that write for any sort of medium when you have a villain character. Villains never think they're villains. If you write a villain to where they think they're a villain, they're a caricature. Perfect example, think Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor doesn't think of himself as a villain, he thinks that he's protecting Earth. Why? Because of Superman. Why does he not like Superman? Superman's an alien. So Luthor thinks he's protecting Earth because he's human. There's more of a stake to it. So when you look at it if you really want to look at it from Luthor's point of view, you get where he's coming from. He may be wrong, but you get where he's coming from. Think of that, writers, when you're doing a villain book, and realize the villain is not necessarily going to think of himself as a villain, so don't make him a stupid villain. Deathstroke, a stupid villain. Demon Knights. Wanted to hate it, loved it. It's demon in Arthurian times. What a concept! It works. It works on all levels. I really didn't think I was going to like the book, and it's like the more I read, it's like, oh, I want to really see what happens. I really want to see what happens next. So I like this book. Frankenstein, Agents of Shade. Now, this was a book when I read Flashpoint. I said, oh my gosh, I kind of like this. The series. I like it a little less, and I like it a little less because of another aspect that I'm starting to notice in a couple of books that is worrisome. Characters are being taken from other mediums and kind of sort of being brought into the DC universe. And it's almost where it's kind of like with Superman with the armor, and then you see the movie stills where it looks like Superman's wearing armor, and you're kind of going, did they do this because of the movie, or did the artist come up with this? And it's almost a chicken or egg thing, and you want to think that the comics would be on their own, but it's almost like movies are influencing the comics. This is an example of where I'm now seeing where the movies are influencing the comics. What do I mean? There's a character in Shade who is supposed to be, from what I can tell, is supposed to be actually an older gentleman who has regenerated himself into a little girl, like a 13-year-old girl. Can we say Hit Girl? Because the character looks like Hit Girl. And the character kind of talks like Hit Girl. So you have Frankenstein, who basically is a learned monster talking to Hit Girl. And all of this kind of screws up what I call the mind-blowing concept of where the secret base is located. The secret base is actually run by a person I like, Ray Palmer, the Atom, and it's basically this floating sphere, I think they said 3 foot, but basically it's a very small floating sphere high above the Earth. And with teleportation and shrinking technology, that's how you get the monsters into the secret base. Mind-blowing, cool idea, ruined by this other stuff. I'm hesitant to say no on this. There's some cool concepts. There's some cool things with Frankenstein that are going on. In reading it, I like, but it's just I almost want to say the pop references are what ruins it. So, Green Lantern. Kind of liked it. Kind of liked where I think that it's going. So I've got to actually, honestly, I've got to give it a few more issues, but I'm kind of liking where Green Lantern's going. Grifter. Yeah, you can tell by my face. I don't like it. No. Legion Lost. You thought I didn't like Grifter? Let me tell you what I think of Legion Lost. Next. Oh, Mr. Fantastic. How to explain Mr. Fantastic? Mr. Fantastic is the book I was most looking forward to. I thought that there would be some interesting things going on with it. I am reluctantly giving it another chance, but from what I've read so far, I'm basically giving it a chance because I'm really hoping it's not as bad as I think it is. Yeah, I said as bad as I think it is. This book, I've talked about this book more than any book I've talked about with my friends that are comic enthusiasts. And the talk hasn't been good, and the talk has been, wow, there are things thrown in here. We basically decided that this would have been a good book in the 90s when the talk of tolerance and other cultures and other sexual orientations and other things would have been probably a good concept in a comic, because it would have been something that people would have wanted to know or would have wanted to see in a book. In this, it falls flat. It seems presumptuous. It seems forced. There's just too many things that where the story's going on, and then plunk, we've got to put a social commentary in somewhere. Plunk, we've got to talk about a certain issue that, I don't know why we really need to talk about it now. And it's not that I don't think these things should not be brought up in a comic, but they're so ham-fisted that it's not natural to the story. And then when you see what the actual story is, what the actual premise is, it's like, So I'm reluctantly giving it another month, but it's a reluctant other month. I hope it surprises me, because I like the concept of the character, and again, I think in different hands, not necessarily better hands. I want to make that clear. Not necessarily better hands, but I think if a different approach had been done with it, I think it might have worked. But the way that they've gone with it right now, it just falls flat to me. Red Lanterns. This is going to, after what I talked about was Mr. Terrific, I found Red Lantern so almost confusing, not really confusing, but I found it so dense and kind of trying to read through it. I liked it. So it's one of those, this is one of those, you know what, I just got to say I like it. I don't know why, I can't really give you an explanation, but I actually liked it. Resurrection Man. Okay, Resurrection Man. If you were a real Vertigo book, in the vein of old Swamp Thing, let me think of some other ones. Old Swamp Thing, old Animal Man, old Doom Patrol, I would have liked Resurrection Man. As it is, Resurrection Man is written like a superhero book. And it doesn't work for the premise that they're kind of going with. We're talking angels, demons, this guy in the middle type of thing. And what we get story-wise is sort of, ooh, I'm a superhero and I can do superhero stuff when I get resurrected. I'm so cool. Suicide Squad. Okay, for you people out there that had problems with Harley Quinn on how she was in the book, without actually reading the story or anything like that, just by the imagery, I humbly say you were right. Oh my goodness. I did not like Suicide Squad. I didn't like the setup. I'll tell you even more that I did not like about Suicide Squad, even more than Harley Quinn. And this goes again with the whole movie concept. Amanda Waller's in it. Because obviously Amanda Waller set up Suicide Squad. Why does Amanda Waller look like Angela Bassett? Oh, because Angela Bassett played Amanda Waller in Green Lantern. Okay, I like the fat Amanda Waller because she was Amanda Waller. You did not mess with Amanda Waller when she was Fat Amanda Waller. Angela Bassett. I like Angela Bassett, but I don't see her as Amanda Waller. And so no, on Suicide Squad. Plus the story I didn't like. I mean, there were other things. I didn't like the story. I didn't like the ending of what the story was supposed to do. So I didn't like it. But those other things just like, brrr. Superboy. Strangely enough, like the concept going on with Superboy. Like it. I have kind of an inkling on the human DNA thing that's going on, but I like the story with Superboy. Like it. I'll be reading more of Superboy. Men of War. Sgt Rock. It's basically Sgt Rock. And as a military book, it's not bad. It's modern military, so it's going to get modernized. I would almost say who you needed to write this was Chuck Dixon. Would have been probably a better choice. Not that I have anything against the writer, but Chuck Dixon is so used to writing this type of dialogue, kind of this military stuff. I think he would have been a better choice. But the story is at least intriguing enough to let me look at another issue, so that's always a good sign. And last, it's a Marvel book. Ooh, a Marvel book. This is Ultimate Spider-Man #1. With all the controversy going on with Ultimate Spider-Man #1, I like this. I like it. Little Morales is good. I like the school thing he had to go through. Now, for him to get the spider, okay, that was like a roundabout way of doing it, but I can look. If Peter Parker going to a place can get bit by a spider and become Spider-Man, the way that Morales becomes a spider is equally as plausible. So I like where the story is going so far. So I'm liking it. So, and also it looks like this guy may have some other abilities which makes sense with what was talked about with the spiders. So I like it. So that's actually it. Woo! Got through all of them. So next week I'll have more books to review, and I will see you next time.